Hey guys, Rick Denham here. Gonna run through a tutorial today on lingcod fishing off piers and jetties. So here in Washington, we have the wonderful lingcod. When salmon, steelhead aren't in season, lingcod's always available. The start of May 1st to June 15th is the season here in Puget Sound. And I'll tell you what, these are some of my favorite fish to catch. They're aggressive, they're easy once you can find them, and boy, they put up a fight and they taste great. So let's look at some of the jigs here I like to use when bait's not readily available or I don't have a whole lot of time to spend fiddling around with other stuff. Casting jigs is great. You're gonna have a lot of time in the water and expect to lose some stuff, so always have a wide selection with you. Now, I have the whole tackle box here that I just bring in my backpack with me down there. You can see there's some big curly tail grubs. I got some, bass swim baits and some other things. They all work, but the biggest part is getting it in front of the fish. Root beer is a great color, white, chartreuse, any color can get right in front of the fish. You're going to have a good shot at getting something. But the biggest part to enticing a lingcod is something with a lot of movement and something that's going to they're ambush predators, so they want something to come out, grab, and they're going to dig back in. So if you like fishing jigs, you can go with these. They're great. I love fishing something that's going to look exactly like what they're feeding on, and that's swim baits. This could be an oversized, well, not too big, but a bass swim bait, and works great for lingcod. It's one of those flash foil swim baits. This is the pogey pattern, I would guess. Like I said, it's about 6 inches. Works really well when current's not too far ripping. But you cast and retrieve this thing, it's going to get a big kick, side to side, wobble action that looks like a fish trying to swim away. They come in smaller sizes, different colors. This one's glow in the dark with the green tail. You even have ones that look like a pogey. So there's a lot of different options out there. You can even drop it down into size. This one would work great for rockfish and other fish that are around. So, but don't be afraid to think that this wouldn't catch a lingcod as well. So there's so many different options with swim baits and curly tail grubs, different types of things. But the biggest key is getting your line in the water and keeping it there, retrieving multiple casts, doing whatever you can. And if you're not getting a fish in an area of a jetty or off a pier, move down. There's no reason to pound the same water for hours and hours without getting anything. So jigs are some of my favorite because you're always moving the rod, you have a lot of action, it's all controlled by you, and you can find some great days on the water with just jigs off the piers and jetties. So after looking at jigs, let's talk about the situation where you can come across some live bait. And I can tell you one of the best live baits to use for lingcod is sand dabs. Those small palm-sized flounder that you can find on the sandy flats out there in Puget Sound. Those are lingcod candy. Boat anglers have heydays with those things. You can get up to 15 for a limit of bottom fish. So I would suggest going, get enough bait that you think you would really need within that 15 and keep them alive and alive well if you have a boat. But off a pier, sand dabs may not be as readily available, so I like to fish the pogey. And that is just a little small 3 to 4 inch fish that looks similar to this swim bait I got here. And the way that you can catch those things, yes, they'll eat shrimp and a lot of stuff, but their mouths are pretty small. So one good way to do it is get yourself one of these sabiki rigs, right? They're a 6 rig. Comes in all sorts of sizes and different ones, but I really like the ones here that have the little fish skin right above the hook itself. As you can see there, this one's a size 4. Got a little green glow head. All of these different ones work. This is actually one from Cabela's, a Marathon. I believe it was a couple bucks, so it's not too crazy expensive. They're really easy to rig up. You tie your main line to this. You can just, as you string it up and pull it out, it'll come out nice and easy. Attach your sinker here, and you're fishing. So there are instructions on the back as well. and it's just a very simple, easy rig to fill up all the bait that you need. But once you get your bait, you gotta keep it alive. Lingcod don't like dead fish as much. You can catch them on it, but a lively, wiggly fish that's gonna be kicking and screaming in front of a fish's face is gonna be the one that's gonna get bit more often. So I got a three gallon bucket here, works great. But my awesome favorite little trick here is get yourself one of these portable aerators, right? They have bubble boxes. This one, I know Fabril makes a bunch of them, but this is from Cabela's, only $10, and I'll tell you what, I have a couple of these. They last if you treat them right. They run on 2D batteries. They're great. You just attach the hose at the top that comes inside the package, and you can clip it to the side of your bucket. You can keep your fish alive all day long, no problems. Don't even really have to change the water out. It's just a good idea to have that. But when you get your bait finally, you gotta figure out then how you're gonna rig them. And I like to fish a 2.5 to 3 foot leader with about a 1/4 ounce weight. That can depend on what your current is, you know, where you're casting to. Generally, I fish off the pier down here in Edmonds, and so I'm casting to the breakwater. So I don't need a super heavy amount of lead. You can, but the light lead allows you to maneuver your pogie around. So it makes it easier either way. But so let's talk about rigging. Here I got this swim bait rigged up with the hook here up through the bottom lip, which is a productive way to do it. But as you may notice, the fish have those little nostrils, and you can just stick it right through that nostril itself and come out the other side. That fish is not going to have a hook through its jaws, keeping its mouth closed, and it's just going to swim pretty free and can cast. Now remember, pogies are pretty hardy and they'll last multiple casts and still be kicking around lively. But just remember too, every time those bait are hitting the water, they're just taking a bit of impact and getting shock. So eventually they're probably not going to last very long, especially if you hook one. So make sure that the fish are getting changed out when you need to be. That way you're having the best, most fresh bait on your line at all times. That's going to entice the fish to bite. So like I said, you're going to cast this thing towards the rocks, let the weight sink to the bottom, pulling the fish down, and then what I could do is to slightly lift my line up taut as I move the pogie off the rocks and down to the next spot, because the lingcod are going to be ambushing these things. They're not going to be swimming by just like a salmon. They're going to be lying in wait for something to swim by them. So if you have one of these things wiggling around in front of a guy's face, that lingcod's going to get mad, come out, grab it, and turn back in. So be ready. Once you feel that, you can give him a little bit to chomp on it, but just know that you're going to have a short reaction time to pull him out of the rocks before he's going to snap your line. Some use steel leaders. You can do a lot of different things, but I like to just run a normal 15 to 20 pound leader on the heavier stuff. Like if I'm casting swim baits, I'll use that. Off a boat, definitely use 25 to 30 pound test on your rigs for flounder live bait. But I like fishing a little bit lighter when I'm casting the pogies. Yeah, I'm probably going to lose more fish than not, but it makes it more fun. It's a lot easier to detect the bites, so I like using on my rod here, it's just my normal salmon steelhead, 9 foot. I think it's an 8 to 12 St. Croix here with one of those wave spin reels, spooled up, 14 pound test, fire line crystal, and then I got a 12 pound test shock tippet section, and I got my rig on there already with my little 1/4 ounce weight, about 3 foot a leader, to a number 2 sickle hook. And I should have said that earlier, but hook size for these baits, I like to run a 2/0. It works good out in the salt where you're deeper water. I'm running a little bit bigger. I believe these are 4/0. It just allows a better hook set, get more meat in the fish, you know, a lot more stuff like that. And then out of salt water, when you're on a boat, you'll run a double mooching rig like you would for herring, and you can rig the same type of way like I just showed you with the pogie, where you're going to get one through the top lip of the flounder and then one's just going to hang out the back, where you have a better chance for more hookups, because more often than not lingcod will just grab onto your bait. It may not have it completely where the hook's going to get him, you know, whether it's a pogie, right? He may come up and just grab the pogie like this. You don't have any hook in this fish. But if you slowly reel, you may be able to pull this fish up to the surface, get a net on him, and you haven't even hooked him. Call it hitchhiking. It's very common out of the boat, especially, to have that happen. But I've had a lot where my jigs, like you can look at this one, close enough, it's got teeth marks all in here of fish grabbing the bait this way but never getting the full hook in itself. So I always try when I'm fishing live bait to give him a little bit of line, let him eat that thing just a little bit, chomp on it, so that at least the hook's down in its mouth a little more, so you have the hook going in him and not just grabbing onto your bait. But then once you do hook puppy, gotta hold on tight and get him out of those rocks, because he's just gonna dive right back in. So hope you guys enjoyed a little tutorial here. I'm gonna go out fishing tonight and hopefully have some other footage to add on here. So Rick Denham signing off, and God bless, fish on.
My